I arrived at my father's house at 2 o'clock, exactly when he asked me to come for Emma's first birthday party. Emma was strapped in her car seat, wearing the little white dress I'd spent 3 weeks making, handsome lace at the collar, tiny pearl buttons down the back, soft cotton that wouldn't irritate her skin. I'd worked on it every night after she went to sleep, wanting her first birthday photos to be perfect. My father opened the door, his smile bright but strained. "Jenna, right on time. Come in, come in." His wife, Diane, stood in the hallway, her 2 children behind her. Marcus was 6, Bella was 4, both wearing expensive outfits that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. "Oh," Diane said when she saw Emma's dress. Her voice went cold. "That's quite elaborate." "I made it myself," I said, unbuckling Emma from her seat. "Took forever, but I wanted it to be special for her first birthday." Diane's lips pressed into a thin line. "Well, the party's in the backyard. We've got everything set up." The backyard was decorated beautifully, balloons, a dessert table, a small bounce house for the older kids, but something felt off. The decorations were minimal compared to the elaborate princess party Diane had thrown for Bella's 4th birthday last month. That one had cost thousands. A professional photographer, a real princess character performer, custom desserts, and party favors that cost $30 each. This looked like an afterthought, basic grocery store balloons, a sheet cake instead of the custom 3-tier creation Bella had gotten. No photographer, no entertainment, no carefully curated, Instagram-worthy backdrop. "Where should I put Emma's gifts?" I asked, holding the bag of presents I brought. "Just set them anywhere." Diane waved dismissively toward a folding table in the corner. She was busy arranging the dessert table, making sure everything looked perfect for photos. I noticed her phone propped up on a tripod, ready to capture content for her mommy blog. She had 40,000 followers who thought she was an amazing stepmother, posting carefully filtered photos with captions about blending families and loving all children equally. My father's parents arrived next. Grandma Betty immediately reached for Emma. "Let me see the birthday girl." "Oh, Jenna, that dress is beautiful. Did you make that?" "She did," Diane answered before I could. "Quite the project, apparently. Must be nice to have so much free time." I worked 50 hours a week as a dental hygienist while raising Emma alone. Free time was not something I had. More guests arrived. Diane's friends, my father's colleagues, some neighbors. People I mostly didn't know. This was supposed to be Emma's party, but it felt like Diane's social event. Emma needed a diaper change. I took her inside and found the nursery they'd set up for when the kids visited. When I came back downstairs, I heard voices in the kitchen. "Did you see that dress Jenna put on the baby?" Diane's voice was loud enough to carry. "So over the top. She's trying to show off. Make my kids look bad." "It's just a dress," my father said quietly. "It's not just a dress. It's her constantly trying to compete with us. Her daughter gets nice things while she's struggling to pay rent. Where are her priorities?" I stood in the doorway, Emma on my hip, waiting to see if my father would defend me. He didn't. I walked back outside, my face burning. This was the pattern. Diane said cruel things, my father stayed silent, and I was expected to pretend everything was fine. The party continued. We sang happy birthday. Emma smashed her cake, getting it all over her beautiful dress. I didn't care. That's what first birthdays were for. "Bath time," Diane announced. "Can't have her staying in those dirty clothes. Let's get her cleaned up." She took Emma before I could respond, heading inside. I followed, uneasy about leaving my daughter alone with someone who clearly resented her existence. In the bathroom, Diane stripped off Emma's dress and started the bath. I helped wash Emma, keeping the interaction minimal. When we were done, I reached for the dress to rinse it out. Diane grabbed it first. "This is ruined. Cake everywhere. Probably can't even be saved." "It's fine. I'll wash it at home." "No, it's trash." She walked out of the bathroom, carrying the dress. I dried Emma quickly, wrapped her in a towel, and followed. Diane was in the backyard, near the fire pit my father had built last summer. My father stood nearby, talking to some guests. Diane threw the dress into the fire pit and lit a match. "What are you doing?" I rushed forward, but the dress was already catching fire. "Getting rid of garbage." Diane watched the flames consume 3 weeks of my work. "Only my kids deserve nice things. Your daughter doesn't need fancy dresses she'll destroy in 5 minutes." My father stood there, holding his beer, saying nothing. I pulled my phone from my pocket and started recording. My hands were shaking, but I kept the camera steady, catching Diane's satisfied expression, my father's silence, and the dress burning in the fire. "Did you seriously just burn my daughter's birthday dress?" I asked, keeping my voice level for the recording. "I told you, it was ruined. No point keeping it. That took me 3 weeks to make. Then maybe spend your time on something more practical." Diane smiled at the guests who were starting to notice the scene. "Jen is just upset. You know how first-time mothers are, so dramatic about everything." I stopped recording, 63 seconds of clear evidence. Emma started crying in my arms, cold and wanting her clothes. I went inside, dressed her in the backup outfit I'd brought, packed our things, and left without saying goodbye. At home, I watched the video 3 times. Diane's voice was crystal clear. "Only my kids deserve nice things." My father was visible in the frame, watching and doing nothing. The dress burning, Emma crying. I dealt with Diane's cruelty for 3 years, since my father married her 6 months after my mother's death. The favoritism, the passive-aggressive comments, the way she treated Emma like an inconvenience. My father always made excuses. "She's adjusting. Give her time. You're being too sensitive." I opened my laptop and started typing. The caption took an hour to write. I explained everything. The pattern of favoritism, Emma being excluded while Diane's children got everything, today's incident being the final straw. I kept it factual, included context, and uploaded the video to TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. My father's wife burned my 1-year-old daughter's birthday dress because only her kids deserve nice things. My father watched and said nothing. This is what emotional abuse looks like. I hit post and put my phone away. Emma needed to be fed, bathed properly, and put to bed. Whatever happened with the video didn't matter. I documented the truth. That had to be enough. The next morning, my phone was exploding. The video had 10,000 views on TikTok, 5,000 on Facebook, and 3,000 on Instagram. The comments were flooding in, hundreds of them, all expressing outrage. "This is disgusting favoritism. That poor baby. What kind of stepmother does this? The father is worse for standing there doing nothing. Someone call CPS." By noon, it had 50,000 views. A local parenting blogger with 200,000 followers had shared it. This breaks my heart. The cruelty is unbelievable. By evening, it hit 500,000 views. My father called. I didn't answer. Diane called from my father's phone. I didn't answer. A reporter from our local news station sent me a message. "Would you be willing to discuss this incident on camera?" I ignored it all. Emma needed normalcy, not more chaos. The video kept spreading, accelerating beyond anything I could have imagined. 1 million views, 2 million, 5 million. The algorithm had picked it up, pushing it to people's feeds across the country. News articles started appearing in local papers, then regional outlets, then national publications. Viral video shows stepmother's cruelty towards stepdaughter's baby. Father's silent complicity sparks outrage. Birthday dress burning incident exposes family favoritism. Major parenting websites featured it. Morning talk shows discussed it. Psychology Today ran an analysis piece on favoritism in blended families, using the video as a case study. Parenting experts were interviewed on television. Child psychologists weighed in on the emotional abuse visible in the video. Therapists discussed the long-term impact of witnessed favoritism on children. Comment sections across platforms debated whether this warranted CPS involvement, whether the internet mob had gone too far, and whether public shaming was justified. 10 million views. People started recognizing my father and Diane in public. Someone posted a photo of them at the grocery store with the caption, "Birthday dress burners spotted." Their local Facebook community group erupted with discussions about whether they should be allowed at neighborhood events. My father showed up at my apartment on day 3, looking like he hadn't slept. Dark circles under his eyes, his shirt wrinkled, his usual composure completely shattered. I let him in because I needed to say everything to his face, everything I'd been holding back for 3 years. "You need to take the video down," he said immediately, his voice hoarse. "Diane's getting death threats. People are showing up at the house, yelling from the sidewalk. Someone threw rocks through our window last night. Marcus is scared to go to school. My business is getting 1-star reviews from people who saw the video. I've had to take down our website. Clients are canceling contracts left and right." "Good. Jenna, please. This has gotten completely out of control. This isn't what I wanted." "No, Dad. What got out of control was you marrying someone who hates your granddaughter and standing by while she abused her. The video just showed people what you've been allowing for 3 years, what you've been enabling, what you've been pretending wasn't happening. Diane didn't abuse anyone. She made a mistake. She burned Emma's birthday dress and said only her kids deserve nice things. You stood there and watched. That's not a mistake. That's cruelty. She was upset. The dress was already ruined. It could have been washed. She burned it to hurt me, to remind me that Emma will never be as important as Marcus and Bella. I kept my voice steady, and you let her. I didn't let her do anything. You did nothing. That's the same thing. I opened my laptop and showed him the video statistics. 15 million views now. This is what everyone else sees. A woman destroying a baby's birthday gift out of spite while the child's grandfather stands there in silence. His face went pale. My business is failing, Jenna. I've lost 8 clients this week. The church asked me to step down from the council. Our neighbors won't speak to us. Maybe you should have thought about that before you married someone who treats your granddaughter like garbage. Take down the video. No. I'm your father. Then act like Emma's grandfather. He left angry. I didn't care. The video continued spreading. 20 million views. Articles appeared in national publications. Diane's Instagram account, where she posted about her perfect family and amazing step-parenting skills, was flooded with comments linking to the video. She deleted everything and went private. My father's construction business website was bombarded with reviews. Would you hire someone who watches abuse happen and does nothing? And check out what kind of person owns this company. His rating dropped from 4.8 stars to 1.2. Other people started coming forward with their own experiences, emboldened by the video. A former neighbor posted about witnessing Diane's different treatment of the children for years. I saw this pattern constantly. The stepkids would be outside in hand-me-down clothes while her biological children wore designer outfits. Christmas morning, I could see through the window, different piles of gifts, obviously unequal. Someone from their church shared that Diane had bragged about putting Jenna in her place after my mother died. She said the daughter needed to understand she wasn't special anymore, that there was a new family now, and she was just extended family. She laughed about it. A parent from Marcus's school posted that Diane had tried to exclude Emma from a family photo directory. She said only her real grandchildren should be included. When I told her all grandchildren count, she got nasty about it. The narrative built itself through these testimonials. I didn't have to say anything more. The evidence was clear, the pattern documented through multiple witnesses, and the internet had decided its verdict. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a systematic pattern of cruelty that had been hidden behind closed doors and carefully curated social media posts. 3 weeks after I posted the video, my father called from a number I didn't recognize. Diane and I are separating, he said without preamble. She moved back to her parents' house with the kids. Okay. She blames you. Says you destroyed her life for views. I documented abuse. What happened after that was consequence. My business is dead, Jenna. I'm going to have to sell the house. I've lost everything. No, you lost Mom, and then chose someone who tried to erase her daughter and granddaughter. You lost your integrity when you stood silent. The video just made sure other people saw what I've been living with. Silence on the line. I should have said something, he finally admitted. When Diane threw the dress in the fire, I should have stopped her. You should have said something 3 years ago when she started treating Emma differently. You should have said something at Bella's party when Emma was excluded. You should have said something every single time she was cruel. My voice hardened. One apology doesn't fix 3 years of choosing your wife's ego over your granddaughter's well-being. I want to see Emma. When you've proven you can protect her, not before. I hung up. The video eventually stopped spreading, settling at 23 million views. It became one of those internet moments that defined a conversation about favoritism, blended families, and complicit silence in abuse. Diane never apologized. I heard she moved 3 hours away, deleted all her social media, and changed her name on professional accounts. My father sold the house, downsized to an apartment, and started over with a new business under a different name. I kept the video up. Every time someone told me I'd gone too far, I asked them what they would have done if they'd watched someone burn their child's birthday gift out of spite. No one had a good answer. Emma turned 2 last month. We celebrated at my apartment with my mother's side of the family, people who actually loved her. No fire pits, no cruel comments. Just a little girl in a store-bought dress, smashing cake with people who thought she deserved nice things. All children deserve nice things. That's what I should have told Diane. But the video said it better than words ever could. I dropped Maya at my father's house at 4 o'clock, 2 hours before her dance recital. "Remember, Grandpa's picking you up at 5:30, I said, adjusting the garment bag that held her costume. "Don't take it out until you're at the theater." "I know, Mom." Maya was 11, responsible beyond her years. "I'll be careful." My father opened the door, his wife Brenda right behind him. "There's our little dancer," he said, hugging Maya. "Ready for the big show?" "So ready. I have a solo this year." "A solo." Brenda's voice was bright, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "How nice." "Amanda's in the chorus, of course. But that's fine. Not everyone can be the star." Amanda was Brenda's daughter, also 11, also in the same dance company, also wearing a costume that cost half as much as Maya's because she had a smaller role. "I have to run to a work thing," I said, checking my phone. "Emergency client meeting." "Dad, you'll make sure she gets there on time?" "Of course. Go handle your business." I kissed Maya's forehead and left, my stomach already tight with anxiety. I'd had a bad feeling all week about leaving Maya alone with Brenda. There had been too many accidents lately. Maya's science project falling off the counter and breaking, her new jacket somehow ending up in the washing machine with bleach, her birthday cake mysteriously knocked to the floor before the party started. But I had a meeting I couldn't miss. Or at least, that's what I told my father. The client meeting was real, but not urgent. What was urgent was the appointment I'd made for 3 o'clock with First National Bank's mortgage department. I've been paying my father's mortgage for 5 years. Every month, $2,800 transferred automatically from my account to his. He thought I didn't know that he'd never recovered from his construction company going bankrupt. I knew everything. I'd been the one keeping him afloat while he pretended to be financially stable. Brenda had no idea. She thought they were comfortable. She'd married my father 3 years ago, believing he was a successful contractor who owned his home outright. The truth was far different. The house was mortgaged to the limit. His credit was destroyed, and without my monthly payments, they would have lost everything years ago. I sat in the bank manager's office and explained what I needed. "I want to stop the automatic payments to David Morrison's mortgage account, effective immediately." The manager, a woman named Sandra, pulled up the account. "You've been making these payments for 63 months. That's $176,400. Plus property taxes and homeowner's insurance, another $15,000. May I ask why you're stopping now?" "Because he forgot what I was doing for him. Because his wife has been systematically cruel to my daughter. Because I'm done being taken for granted." Sandra nodded slowly. "The account will show a missed payment in 30 days. After 90 days of non-payment, the foreclosure process begins." "I understand." "Ms. Morrison, this will destroy his credit. He'll lose the house." "I know." She processed the paperwork. I signed everything. The automatic payments would stop. My father would receive no warning, no grace period, no chance to fix it before the consequences began. I left the bank at 4:15 and drove back toward my father's house, arriving at 4:45. Maya's recital started at 6. We needed to be at the theater by 5:30 for costume and makeup prep. When I walked in, I heard crying. Maya was in the living room, her costume spread across the coffee table. Royal blue velvet, hand-beaded with crystals, custom made for her solo. It had cost $385. Now it was covered in streaks of red acrylic paint. What happened? I kept my voice level, though my hands wanted to shake. "It was an accident," Brenda said from the kitchen doorway. She was holding a paint can and brush. "I was touching up the trim in the hallway. Maya's garment bag was hanging on the doorknob. The can tipped over." The can tipped over onto a costume hanging inside a closed garment bag. The bag was partially open. "These things happen." Brenda shrugged. "Really? You should have bought 2 costumes. That's what responsible parents do. Have a backup for emergencies." My father sat on the couch, watching television. He glanced over, saw the situation, and laughed. Actually laughed. "She's got a point, sweetheart. Always good to have a spare." Maya looked at me with devastated eyes. This was her first solo. She practiced for months. The recital started in 75 minutes, and there was no replacement costume, no time to find one, no way to fix this. "Come on, Maya. Get your things." "But the recital." "I'll handle it. Let's go." In the car, Maya cried silently. I drove her to the dance studio, explained to the director what happened, and watched her get reassigned to the chorus with a generic costume. Her solo went to Amanda, Brenda's daughter, who wore her cheaper costume and performed Maya's routine adequately but without the heart Maya would have brought to it. I sat in the audience and made decisions. The first missed mortgage payment hit my father's account 30 days later. He called me, confused. "Something's wrong with the bank," he said. "They're saying my mortgage payment wasn't received." "Did you check your account?" "Yeah, the money just isn't there. Must be a bank error. I'm calling them tomorrow." "Good idea." He called back the next day, panic in his voice. "They're saying the automatic payment that usually comes through didn't process. Something about the originating account stopping the transfer. Do you know anything about that?" "Should I?" Silence. "Claire, that money comes from you. For 5 years, Dad. Every month. $2,800. Plus your property taxes. Plus your homeowner's insurance. You really didn't know?" More silence. I thought I was managing okay. The accounts always balanced out. "They balanced because I was filling the gaps. Your construction business hasn't made enough to cover your mortgage since 2019. You've been living on my support." "Why didn't you tell me?" "You never asked where the money was coming from. You just accepted it. Easier than admitting you needed help." "Claire, I need you to restart those payments. Please, I can't lose the house." "You should have thought about that before you laughed when Brenda ruined Maya's costume." "That was just a costume. This is my house. And Maya's solo was just her dance recital. But it mattered to her. You chose to laugh instead of defend her. Now I'm choosing to stop paying your bills. You can't do this. Brenda doesn't know about the payments. If she finds out, if we lose the house, then I guess you'll have a lot of explaining to do." I hung up. The second missed payment hit at day 60. My father called 6 times. I didn't answer. He showed up at my apartment. I didn't open the door. At day 90, the foreclosure notice arrived. My father called from Brenda's phone. She was screaming in the background. "You've been paying our mortgage? For 5 years? You've been lying to me about money?" I could hear my father trying to explain, his voice desperate and defensive. "Claire." Brenda grabbed the phone. "You have to fix this. Tell the bank it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. You're going to let us lose our house over a dance costume?" "No, I'm letting you lose the house you never actually paid for because you destroyed my daughter's costume and my father laughed about it. There's a difference. David, tell her she's being ridiculous." My father got back on the phone. "Claire, please. We have nowhere to go. My credit's destroyed. I can't get another mortgage. We can't even rent anything decent with my income." "You should have bought 2 houses," I said calmly. "That's what responsible adults do. Have a backup for emergencies." I hung up again. My father's mother called next, my grandmother, trying to mediate. "Claire, honey, I know Brenda was wrong about the costume, but losing their house seems extreme." "Grandma, I've paid $191,400 for the house over 5 years. They never thanked me, never acknowledged it, never once defended Maya when Brenda was cruel. He just took my money and let his wife treat my daughter like garbage. He's your father. And Maya's his granddaughter. He made his choice." The house went to foreclosure auction at day 140. It sold for $365,000, below market value because foreclosure sales always are. My father lost all his equity. The moving trucks came on day 173. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex near the highway, from a 1,500 square foot house with a yard to an apartment smaller than my living room. Brenda's daughter Amanda had to switch schools. They sold furniture that wouldn't fit, downsized their cars because they couldn't afford the payments. I heard all this through my grandmother, who was disappointed in me but still called with updates. "Brenda's furious," Grandma said. "She's saying you destroyed their lives over nothing." "Over nothing," I repeated. Maya's costume cost $385. Gad's house cost him nothing because I was paying for it. I destroyed nothing. I just stopped building something he didn't appreciate. 6 months after they moved out, my father requested to meet me for coffee. I agreed, curious about what he'd say. He looked older, tired. The stress of the past months had carved lines into his face. "I'm sorry," he said immediately, "for laughing, for not standing up to Brenda, for taking your help without acknowledging it." Okay, that's it. What do you want me to say, Dad? That I forgive you? That I'll start paying your bills again?" "I want to explain. Brenda didn't know about my financial situation when we got married. I was embarrassed. I kept up appearances. When your payments started coming through, I didn't question it. I convinced myself I deserved it somehow, that you were doing well and wanted to help. I did want to help, past tense. Because of one incident with Maya? No. Because of 3 years of incidents with Maya. The science project, the jacket, the birthday cake. The costume was just the last one, the one where you laughed instead of defending your granddaughter. I made a mistake. You made a choice. You chose Brenda's ego over Maya's feelings. You chose to take my financial support while dismissing my daughter's pain. Those were choices, not mistakes. He stared into his coffee. Brenda and I are separating. She can't get past the money thing. Can't forgive me for the lies. Her family won't help us financially because they feel I deceived her. I'm sorry your marriage is ending. Are you? I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm not sorry about the consequences. What about Maya? She's asking about me. Wants to know why we don't see each other. I told her the truth, that Grandpa let Brenda hurt her, and that taught Grandpa a lesson about taking people for granted. She's 11. That's too much for an 11-year-old. She's 11, and she needed to know that people who love you should protect you, not laugh when you're hurt. Better she learns that now. My father left the coffee shop without finishing his drink. I sat there for another 20 minutes, thinking about choices and consequences. A week later, Maya asked if we could drive past Grandpa's old house. Why? I asked. I want to see where they lived, where we used to visit. We drove past. A new family had moved in. There were bikes in the driveway, a swing set going up in the backyard, children's laughter coming from inside. Do you miss going there? I asked Maya. I miss Grandpa, but I don't miss how small I felt there. How Brenda always made me feel like I was less than Amanda. She looked at me. Did you really pay for their house? For 5 years. And Grandpa didn't know. He chose not to know. There's a difference. Why did you stop? Because watching Brenda ruin your costume and hearing Grandpa laugh taught me something. It taught me that helping people who don't appreciate it only enables them to hurt you more. Maya was quiet for a moment. I got my solo back, for the spring recital. Miss Jennifer said I deserved it. That's wonderful, baby. Will Grandpa come watch? I don't know. Do you want him to? Only if he promises not to laugh if something goes wrong. That's a reasonable boundary. My father did ask to come to the spring recital. I said yes, but with conditions. He could attend, but he'd sit separately from us. He could congratulate Maya afterward, but Brenda was not invited. He agreed. Maya performed her solo beautifully. My father cried during it. Afterward, he hugged her and told her he was proud. I'm sorry about your costume, he said quietly. The one Brenda ruined. I should have said something. I should have done something. It's okay, Grandpa. Mom says we teach people how to treat us. He looked at me over Maya's head. Yes, we do. We didn't reconcile. Not fully, but we found a careful peace, built on clear boundaries and hard-learned lessons. My father rented a small apartment, worked to rebuild his credit, and started being honest about his limitations. Brenda moved back to her hometown with Amanda. The divorce was quiet and quick. Sometimes my father asked if I missed the relationship we used to have, before the costume, before the foreclosure, before everything changed. I told him the truth. I didn't miss being taken for granted. I didn't miss watching my daughter be treated as less than. I didn't miss being generous to people who mistook my kindness for weakness. What I'd lost was the illusion that my father would always choose family over pride. What I gained was the certainty that I would always choose my daughter over obligation. 5 years of mortgage payments bought me that knowledge. In the end, it was worth every penny. I was in the kitchen with Lily, teaching her how to make chocolate chip cookies. She was 8 years old, flour dusted across her nose, laughing as she tried to crack eggs without getting shells in the bowl. This was our routine: Saturday baking, homework on Sundays, library trips on Tuesdays. I'll get it, I said, wiping my hands on a towel. I opened the door to find my brother, Nathan, standing on the porch. He looked different, older, obviously, well-dressed in an expensive suit. A woman stood beside him, tall and elegant in designer clothes, her hand resting possessively on his arm. 8 years. 8 years since I'd seen him. Megan, Nathan said, as if no time had passed at all, we need to talk. My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. About what? About my daughter. The woman smiled, extending her hand. I'm Victoria, Nathan's wife. We've heard so much about Lily. I didn't take her hand. Lily's busy right now. Aunt Meg, who is it? Lily's voice came from the kitchen, curious and happy. Nathan moved forward. That's her. God, she's gotten so big. I blocked the doorway. You should have called first. I tried. You didn't answer. That was true. I'd seen his number 3 times over the past week and ignored every call. Look, can we come in? We've driven 4 hours to get here. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. They entered, Victoria's eyes scanning the living room, taking in the toys in the corner, the drawings on the refrigerator, the photos covering every wall. 8 years of life. 8 years Nathan had missed. Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway, curious. She saw Nathan and stopped, her smile fading. She didn't recognize him. Why would she? She'd been 3 days old the last time she saw him. Lily, Nathan said, his voice strange and emotional. Sweetheart, it's me. It's your dad. Lily moved closer to me, her small hand finding mine. I don't have a dad. Of course you do, honey. Victoria's voice was sweet but condescending. Every little girl has a daddy, and we're here to take you home. I am home, Lily said quietly. I squeezed her hand. Lily, why don't you go finish the cookies? I need to talk to these people. She hesitated, looking up at me with worried eyes. Are they going to take me away? No one's taking you anywhere, I promise. She nodded slowly and went back to the kitchen, but I could see her watching us through the doorway. Nathan sat on the couch without being invited. Victoria joined him, crossing her legs elegantly. We should explain, she said. Yes, please do explain. I remained standing. Explain why you're here after 8 years. Explain why you think you can walk into my home and call my daughter yours. She is mine, Nathan said. Biologically. Legally. Legally? I almost laughed. You abandoned her at the hospital, Nathan. You signed her over to me when she was 3 days old. I was 23 years old. I just lost my wife. I wasn't ready to be a single father. His voice cracked slightly. You don't know what it was like, seeing Lily and knowing Sarah died bringing her into the world. I know exactly what it was like because I was there. I held your hand while Sarah was dying. I was the one who sat with you in the hospital room. And I was the one who stayed when you walked away. Victoria placed her hand on Nathan's knee. He was grieving. He made a mistake, but he's better now. We're better. We're ready to be parents. Ready to be parents, I repeated slowly. After 8 years. Yes, Victoria smiled, as if this were reasonable. We've been married for 2 years. We have a beautiful home in Connecticut, 4 bedrooms, a pool, excellent schools nearby. Lily would have everything she needs. She has everything she needs here. With all due respect, Megan, you're a single woman working as a nurse. You live in a rental house. You drive a 12-year-old Honda. Victoria's tone suggested she thought she was being kind by pointing this out. We can offer Lily so much more. Opportunities, travel, the best education money can buy. She's happy here. She'd be happy with us too, Nathan said. She's my daughter. I have rights. You gave up those rights 8 years ago. No, I gave you temporary guardianship. That's not the same thing. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Nathan pulled papers from his jacket pocket. I never terminated my parental rights. I just gave you permission to make decisions for Lily while I got my life together. Now my life is together. Victoria and I want to be a family. We want Lily back. Victoria leaned forward. We've already spoken with a lawyer. Nathan has every legal right to reclaim custody of his biological daughter. We're trying to do this nicely to give you time to prepare her. But make no mistake, Lily will be coming to live with us. I looked at Nathan, my younger brother. The man I'd supported through Sarah's pregnancy, through her death, through his breakdown. The man who'd handed me a 3-day-old baby and said, I can't do this, before walking out of the hospital. Why now? I asked quietly. I told you, we're ready to be parents. No. Why exactly now? What changed? Nathan and Victoria exchanged a glance. There was something they weren't saying. It's just time, Nathan said. I've been thinking about Lily for years. Missing her. Wanting to be her father. You've had 8 years to be her father. You could have visited, called, sent birthday cards. You did none of those things. I needed space to heal. Space to heal or space to forget. Victoria stood up, her pleasant demeanor cracking slightly. Look, we're trying to be reasonable here. We could just show up with a court order. We're giving you the courtesy of a warning. How generous. We'll be back next week, Nathan said, standing as well, to pick her up. We'll give you time to help her pack. Say goodbye. You're not taking her. Megan, don't make this harder than it needs to be. They moved toward the door. Victoria paused. Oh, and you should know, Nathan's mother, our mother, passed away 3 months ago. I know. I was at the funeral. You weren't. Yes, well, we were in Europe. But the estate has been settled. Did you know Mom left her entire estate to her only grandchild? Lily inherits everything when she turns 18. The house, the investments, everything. About $7 million. And there it was. The real reason. Get out of my house. We'll see you next week, Victoria said pleasantly. Start preparing Lily. It'll be easier on everyone if she's ready to transition. After they left, I locked the door and leaned against it, my hands shaking. Lily appeared from the kitchen, her face pale. Are they really going to take me away? No, baby, no one's taking you anywhere. But I wasn't sure I could keep that promise. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, Patricia Chen. We'd worked together before, on the guardianship paperwork 8 years ago. Tell me you have good news, I said after explaining the situation. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Did Nathan actually terminate his parental rights? I thought he did. We signed papers at the hospital. Those were temporary guardianship papers. They gave you legal authority to make decisions for Lily, but they didn't terminate Nathan's rights as her biological father. To do that, he would have had to go before a judge, have a hearing. Did that happen? No. I assumed. I thought since he surrendered her to me. Surrender isn't the same as termination. Megan, this is complicated. If Nathan wants to challenge the guardianship, and if he can prove he's stable and capable now, a court might grant him custody. After 8 years? After abandoning her? The law favors biological parents. It's not fair, but it's reality. We have to prove that giving him custody isn't in Lily's best interests. It's not. She doesn't even know him. I believe you, but we need to build a case. I need documentation. Everything. School records, medical records, therapy notes if she's in therapy. I need proof you've been her primary caregiver. And Megan, we need to act fast. If he files for custody, we need to be ready to fight. Do it. Whatever it takes. Patricia hesitated. There's one more thing. You mentioned an inheritance? My mother's estate, $7 million. It goes to Lily when she's 18. Who's the trustee? I am. They will name me as trustee since I have guardianship. That might be what this is really about. If Nathan gets custody, he could petition the court to become trustee instead. He wouldn't get direct access to the money, but he'd control how it's managed, what expenses are covered. That's powerful motivation. So what do? We file for adoption, full legal adoption. If a judge grants it, Nathan's biological connection becomes irrelevant. You become Lily's legal mother in every sense. His parental rights would be permanently terminated. How long does that take? Usually 6 to 12 months, but given the circumstances, we can request an emergency hearing. We'll argue that Nathan abandoned Lily, that he's only returning for financial reasons, and that Lily's well-being requires permanency. Do it. That week, Patricia filed the adoption petition. She also filed a motion to block any custody changes until the adoption hearing could take place. We attached 8 years of documentation, every doctor's appointment I'd taken Lily to, every parent-teacher conference, every birthday party, every scraped knee, every nightmare I'd comforted. Nathan fought back. His lawyer filed a motion to dismiss the adoption petition, arguing that Nathan had never intended to permanently relinquish Lily, that he'd been temporarily incapacitated by grief, and that he had every right to parent his biological daughter now that he was stable. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Those 3 weeks were hell. Lily became anxious and clingy. She had nightmares about being taken away by strangers. I took her to her therapist twice a week. Dr. Morrison wrote a letter for our case, stating that removing Lily from the only home she'd ever known would be psychologically damaging. Nathan called 6 times. I didn't answer. He showed up at Lily's school. The principal called me, and I had to add him to the list of people not authorized to pick her up. Victoria sent messages through social media, sweet and threatening by turns. Finally, the hearing arrived. Judge Williams was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She listened as Nathan's lawyer painted a picture of a grieving young father who'd made a mistake, who'd spent years rebuilding his life, who was now ready to be the parent his daughter deserved. Then Patricia stood up. Your Honor, Mr. Thompson didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. He chose to walk away from a 3-day-old baby. He chose not to call, not to visit, not to send birthday cards. For 8 years, he chose absence. The only reason he's here now is money. She pulled out documents, phone records showing Nathan had never called, bank records showing he'd never sent child support, and most damning, an email from Victoria to a friend, uncovered during discovery. Patricia read it aloud. We found out about Nathan's daughter's inheritance last month. $7 million. If we can get custody, Nathan becomes trustee. We could finally pay off his business debts and buy the house in Aspen we've been wanting. Nathan's face went white. Victoria looked furious. Mr. Thompson, Judge Williams said coldly, did you know about this inheritance when you decided you wanted custody? Nathan's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, the motivation doesn't matter. Mr. Thompson has biological rights. The motivation absolutely matters when we're determining the best interest of the child. She turned to me. Ms. Thompson, I've reviewed your documentation, 8 years of medical records, school enrollment, therapy notes. You've been this child's mother in every way that matters. She looked at Lily, who sat beside me holding my hand. Young lady, do you know why you're here today? Lily nodded, her voice small. The man says he's my dad and wants to take me away. Is that what you want? No, I want to stay with Mom. She squeezed my hand tighter. She's my real mom. She's always been my mom. Judge Williams reviewed the papers in front of her. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of pages turning. Mr. Thompson, you abandoned your infant daughter 8 years ago. You provided no financial support. You made no contact. Your sister stepped into the role of parent and has fulfilled that role admirably. Your sudden interest in custody coincides suspiciously with your discovery of a substantial inheritance. She looked up. I'm granting Ms. Thompson's adoption petition. Her parental rights are hereby established. Mr. Thompson, your parental rights are terminated. You will have no custody, no visitation, and no authority over the trust fund. This child has a mother, and it's not you. Nathan stood up. You can't do this. She's my daughter. She was your daughter. You gave her up. Ms. Thompson raised her. Now she's legally Ms. Thompson's daughter. This hearing is concluded. Nathan and Victoria left the courtroom in angry silence. I heard later that they divorced 6 months after that, once Victoria realized there was no money coming. Nathan tried to appeal the decision, but his lawyer eventually told him it was hopeless. The adoption became final 30 days later. I had Lily's birth certificate amended, her last name officially changed to Thompson, matching mine. Her original birth certificate was sealed. As far as the law was concerned, I was her mother, not her aunt, not her guardian, her mother. That evening, we celebrated with chocolate chip cookies, the same recipe we'd been making the day Nathan showed up. Lily helped me mix the dough, flour on her nose like always. Mom, she said quietly. Yes, baby? Am I really yours now, like forever? Forever and always. No one can change that. She smiled, the worried look finally leaving her eyes. Good, because you're the only mom I want. I hugged her tight. This child I'd chosen, this daughter who'd been handed to me in a hospital room 8 years ago, I had a brother who couldn't handle the responsibility. Nathan had given birth to her, but I had raised her, fed her, comforted her, taught her, loved her through every moment of every day. He was her biological father, but I was her mother. And no amount of money would ever change that. The doorbell rang at 6:30 on a Tuesday evening. I was helping Sophie with her algebra homework at the kitchen table. She was 13 now, all long limbs and braces, struggling with polynomials the way I once did. 8 years had passed since her mother dropped her off at my apartment for just a weekend and never came back. I'll get it, I said, thinking it might be our neighbor returning the ladder I'd lent her. I opened the door to find my sister Melissa standing on my porch. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was dyed an aggressive shade of red. A man I didn't recognize stood beside her, sleeve tattoos visible under his leather jacket. Claire, Melissa said, like we'd seen each other last week instead of 8 years ago. Like she hadn't disappeared without explanation, without a phone call, without a single birthday card. We need to talk. Mom. Sophie's voice came from behind me, small and uncertain. She'd stopped calling Melissa mom around age 7, when she finally accepted that her mother wasn't coming back. Now she called me that, though I'd never asked her to. It had happened naturally, gradually, until one day it just was. Baby girl. Melissa moved forward like she was going to rush past me, arms outstretched in a performance of maternal affection. I blocked the doorway with my body, keeping my stance casual but firm. Look how big you are. I've missed you so much. You're practically grown up now. Sophie didn't move from her position halfway between the kitchen and front door. Her face had gone pale, the color draining from her cheeks the way it did when she had panic attacks. I could see her starting to breathe faster. What do you want, Melissa? I kept my voice level. What do I want? I want to see my daughter. It's been too long. I'm here to take her home. The man beside her nodded. We've got a place set up for her. 2-bedroom apartment. She'll have her own room. And you are? I asked. Derek, Melissa's fiancé, soon to be Sophie's stepdad. He smiled like this was good news. Sophie's hand found mine. Her fingers were cold. This isn't a good time, I said. Sophie has school tomorrow. Homework to finish. I'm her mother, Claire. You can't keep her from me. Melissa's voice took on an edge I remembered from childhood. The tone that preceded tantrums, manipulation, threats. You haven't seen her in 8 years. I was getting my life together. I had problems. I'm better now. Clean and sober 2 years. She pulled out her phone. I've got documentation. Court-ordered rehab completion certificates. I'm ready to be your mom again. That's great, Melissa, really. But Sophie has a life here. Friends, school, stability. You can't just show up and take her. Actually, I can. I'm her biological mother. I never signed away my rights. Legally, she's mine. Melissa crossed her arms. I talked to a lawyer. You're just her aunt. You've got no legal standing. My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. We should discuss this properly. Not on the doorstep. Give me your number and I'll call you tomorrow. No. I want my daughter back now, tonight. Sophie's grip on my hand tightened. I don't want to go. Sweetie, I know it's a lot, Melissa said in what I suppose was meant to be a soothing voice. But I'm your real mom. We're your real family. Derek and I are going to give you everything you deserve. Everything she deserves? I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. Where were you when she had nightmares every night for 6 months? When she started first grade? When she learned to ride a bike? When she broke her arm falling off the monkey bars? I was sick, Claire. Addiction is a disease. And abandonment is a choice. You didn't call once, not on her birthday, not on Christmas, not ever. Derek stepped forward. Look, we're not trying to cause problems, but Melissa has rights. Sophie belongs with her real family. I am her real family, I said quietly. I'm the one who's been here. For now, Melissa said. But I'm taking her back, one way or another. After they left, Sophie cried for an hour. I held her on the couch, promising her what I'd promised 8 years ago. I would keep her safe. But Melissa's words haunted me. Biological mother. Legal rights. I'd never formally adopted Sophie. I'd assumed Melissa was gone forever, that her absence was permanent. I'd gotten guardianship through the family court, but guardianship wasn't adoption. Guardianship could be challenged. I called my lawyer, Patricia Hoffman, first thing Wednesday morning. How strong is her case? I asked after explaining the situation. Moderate, Patricia said carefully. She's the biological mother. If she can prove she's rehabilitated, stable, and capable of providing care, a court might grant her custody, especially with you only having guardianship. But I've raised Sophie for 8 years. I know, and that matters. But biological parent rights are powerful. We'd have to prove reunification isn't in Sophie's best interest. Patricia paused. There's another option. What? We finalized your adoption of Sophie. You filed the preliminary paperwork 4 years ago, but never completed it. We can move forward now. If you're her legal adoptive parent, Melissa's biological claim becomes much weaker. How long does adoption take? Usually 6 to 12 months, but given the circumstances, we might be able to expedite. Judge Morrison handles these cases. She's reasonable. If Sophie testifies that she wants to stay with you, if we show 8 years of stability versus Melissa's absence, we have a strong case. Do it, I said. File everything. What I didn't tell Patricia yet was the other reason Melissa had returned. The reason I'd been expecting something like this, though I'd hoped I was wrong. 2 months ago, my father had died. He'd been estranged from both Melissa and me for years, disappointed in her addiction and my choice to raise Sophie without his help. But his will had surprised everyone. He'd left his considerable estate in trust for his grandchildren. Sophie was his only grandchild, the only heir to his real estate development fortune. $12 million held in trust until Sophie turned 25. The structure was ironclad, designed by expensive estate lawyers. I was named as trustee, responsible for managing the funds and distributing them for Sophie's education, health, and welfare until she reached maturity. I had no access to the principal for myself. Every expenditure had to be documented and justified. The trust was for Sophie alone. The will had been public record for 6 weeks now, filed with the county probate court, available to anyone who searched the database. It hadn't taken long for people to notice that a 13-year-old girl was suddenly worth $12 million. 6 weeks ago, I'd started receiving strange calls from numbers I didn't recognize. 4 weeks ago, someone tried to friend Sophie on social media using a fake account. 3 weeks ago, Melissa had sent me a single text. "We need to talk about Sophie." I'd ignored it. I should have known she wouldn't give up. Thursday afternoon, Patricia called. "Melissa filed for custody. Emergency motion. She's claiming you've been keeping Sophie from her, that she's been trying to reconnect for months." That's a lie. I know, we'll prove it. But Claire, there's something else. Her lawyer mentioned the trust fund. They're arguing that Sophie needs her biological mother to help manage her inheritance, that you have a conflict of interest as trustee. There it was, the real reason. "They want the money," I said flatly. "It appears so. The good news is that makes their case weaker. Judges don't like parents who abandon children and return when money becomes available. The bad news is we need to move fast. I'm filing your adoption petition tomorrow. We'll request an emergency hearing to block Melissa's custody motion until the adoption is resolved." Friday morning, I explained everything to Sophie. She deserved to know. "She wants the money Grandpa left you," I said gently. "That's why she came back." Sophie was quiet for a long moment. "I don't want her money. I don't want Grandpa's money. I just want to stay here with you." "You will stay here. I promise. But I need you to be honest with me. Do you want me to adopt you? Legally? So I'm not just your aunt anymore, but your actual mom in the eyes of the law?" Her eyes filled with tears. "You already are my mom." "I know, sweetie. But we need to make it official. There will be a court hearing. A judge will ask you questions. You'll have to tell them what you want." "I want to stay with you. Forever." "Then that's what we'll fight for." The emergency hearing was scheduled for the following Wednesday. Judge Morrison, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor, listened to both sides. Melissa's lawyer argued rehabilitation, maternal rights, biological bonds. He painted me as an aunt who'd overstepped, who was trying to replace Sophie's real mother, who had a financial interest in keeping Sophie away from Melissa. Patricia presented 8 years of documentation, school records listing me as guardian, medical records showing me as emergency contact, bank statements proving I paid for everything, Sophie's therapy records indicating attachment and stability with me, trauma from the abandonment. Then Patricia dropped the evidence that changed everything. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit Ms. Melissa Grant's financial records for the past 2 years." Patricia handed documents to the judge. "You'll notice she's accumulated significant debt, $87,000 across multiple credit cards and personal loans. She was evicted from 2 apartments in the past year for non-payment of rent. She's currently unemployed and has been for 7 months. Her fiancé Derek Matthews has a criminal record including theft and fraud." She continued, her voice steady and professional. "We'd also like to submit phone records, text message logs, and postal service confirmations showing Ms. Grant made no attempt to contact Sophie until 6 weeks ago. That date coincides exactly with the probate of Thomas Grant's will becoming public record. Before she knew about the trust fund, Sophie didn't exist to her. After she learned about $12 million, suddenly she's Mother of the Year. We have documentation of her calling the probate court for trust fund details just 3 days before she appeared at Ms. Whitmer's home." Melissa's face went red. "That's not true. I've always loved my daughter." "Then where's the proof?" Patricia asked calmly. 8 years of silence. No birthday cards. No Christmas presents. No child support. Not one phone call. Ms. Whitmore has receipts for every expense. Can you show the court even one attempt to contact your daughter before you learned she was in Harris? Silence. Judge Morrison looked at Melissa. "Ms. Grant, I've heard enough. Your timing is suspicious. Your financial desperation is obvious. Your 8-year absence is inexcusable. This court is not in the business of reuniting children with parents who only want them as assets." She turned to me. "Ms. Whitmore, I'm granting your petition for expedited adoption proceedings. I'm also issuing a restraining order preventing Ms. Grant from contacting Sophie until this matter is resolved. We'll have a final hearing in 6 weeks." Melissa stood up. "You can't do this. She's my daughter." "She was your daughter," Judge Morrison said coldly. "You abandoned her." Ms. Whitmore raised her. "Now we're going to make that arrangement permanent and legal." Derek grabbed Melissa's arm. "What about the money? The trust fund?" And there it was, out loud, in front of the judge. Judge Morrison's expression hardened further. "The trust fund is managed by Ms. Whitmore as trustee, appointed by the deceased. That has nothing to do with custody. If you're interested in Sophie's welfare, you'd never mention money in a custody hearing. If you're interested in money, you've just proven you shouldn't have custody." She banged her gavel. "This hearing is concluded." 6 weeks later, the adoption was finalized. Sophie sat between Patricia and me, holding my hand, as Judge Morrison signed the papers that made me her legal mother. It was a cool October morning, exactly 8 years and 2 months since Melissa had dropped Sophie off for that weekend. Melissa didn't show up to the final hearing. Her lawyer had withdrawn from the case 3 days earlier, citing ethical concerns about her client's motivations. I learned later that Derek had left her too, once he realized there was no money to be gained, no access to the trust fund, no quick payday from reuniting with a child he'd never met. Patricia handed me the adoption certificate, the paper still warm from the court seal. "It's official. Sophie Whitmore is legally your daughter. Melissa's parental rights have been terminated. She has no legal standing anymore. The trust fund remains under your sole management as trustee until Sophie turns 25. Sophie smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. That evening, we celebrated with pizza and ice cream. Sophie wanted to watch old home videos, something we did sometimes when she needed comfort. We scrolled through 8 years of memories. Her first day of school. Her dance recitals. Her birthday parties. Mornings. Summer vacations. "Mom," Sophie said during a video of her 8th birthday. She called me that naturally now, no hesitation. "Yes." "I'm glad she left." I looked at her, surprised. I'm not glad she hurt me. But I'm glad I got to be with you instead. You chose me. She would have just kept me because she had to. I hugged her tight. "I'll always choose you." The trust fund sat untouched except for deposits into Sophie's college savings account. I didn't need it. I'd always supported us with my teaching salary. The money would be there when Sophie was 25, when she was old enough to make her own decisions about it. Melissa sent one final text a month later. "You poisoned her against me." I blocked the number and deleted it. Because the truth was simple. I hadn't poisoned Sophie against anyone. Melissa had done that herself 8 years ago, when she walked away from a 5-year-old child and never looked back. Some people spend years earning the title of mother. Others abandon it the moment it becomes inconvenient. I'd earned it, day by day, night by night, homework assignment by homework assignment, nightmare by nightmare, scraped knee by scraped knee. And now, finally, legally, it was mine. The trust fund was just money. Sophie was everything. The box was wrapped in cheerful graduation paper, blue and gold, with little mortar boards printed across it. It was tied with a silver ribbon. It looked expensive, thoughtful, like the kind of gift you plan weeks in advance. I was 22 years old, standing in my parents' backyard surrounded by aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends who had come to celebrate my college graduation. Pre-med degree with honors. Medical school acceptance letter already framed in my dorm room. Admission to Johns Hopkins with a partial scholarship. 4 years of brutal organic chemistry, physics, biology labs, volunteering at hospitals, and studying until 3 in the morning. All of it culminating in this moment. My father handed me the box with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. There was something performative about it, like he was setting up a joke only he found funny. "Open it, Anna. Your real graduation present." I tore through the paper while everyone watched. The backyard had gone quiet, that expectant silence when everyone's waiting to see what someone received. I lifted the lid. Inside was a collection of cleaning supplies, spray bottles with bright yellow labels, microfiber rags in multiple colors, rubber gloves in size medium, a small mop head still wrapped in plastic, a scrub brush, and a bottle of industrial-strength floor cleaner. The scent of artificial lemon wafted up, sharp and chemical. The backyard went completely silent. "Start practicing," my father said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "This is your career, your real career." "David," my mother said softly, "that's not funny." "I'm not joking. Medical school is expensive. She'll last one semester before she drops out. Better she learns a practical skill now. Cleaning is honest work." My Uncle Thomas laughed nervously. "Come on, David, that's harsh, even for you. I'm being realistic. Anna's not doctor material. Too emotional. Not tough enough. She thinks she can handle medical school because she got good grades, but college isn't real life." I stood there holding a spray bottle in one hand and a rag in the other while my extended family watched my humiliation. "Medical school costs $200,000, my father continued. "She'll waste 1 year, drop out, and be in debt for the rest of her life. At least with cleaning skills, she can get a job." "I start medical school in August," I said quietly. "I've already been accepted." Acceptance and finishing are different things. You'll see, this will be more useful than that acceptance letter. I put the cleaning supplies back in the box and closed the lid. "Thank you for the gift." My mother followed me inside when I left. "He doesn't mean it. He's just worried about the money." "He means it, Mom. He's always meant it. Given time, when you graduate from medical school, he'll understand." I won't be inviting him to that graduation. I moved to the East Coast 2 months later for medical school. Changed my phone number. Sent my mother my address but not my father. For the next 12 years, I saw him occasionally at Christmas, and we barely spoke. He never asked about medical school. Never asked about my residency. Never asked about my career at all. I assumed he thought I'd dropped out. Maybe become a nurse, maybe actually taken his advice and gotten a job cleaning offices. My mother mentioned once that he told someone at church I was doing something with hospitals in Boston, in a vague tone that suggested failure he was too polite to specify. I didn't correct him. I was too busy becoming a doctor. Medical school was brutal in ways my father had never imagined. 100-hour weeks learning anatomy, pharmacology, and pathology. Memorizing every bone, every nerve pathway, every drug interaction. Constant exams where one wrong answer could mean the difference between passing and failing out. The pressure of knowing that mistakes in this field cost lives, not just grades. I finished top of my class, inducted into the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society. Matched into a prestigious general surgery residency program at University Hospital, one of the most competitive in the country. 5 years of residency were even harder than medical school, 80 to 100-hour weeks, sleeping 4 hours a night if I was lucky, learning to make split-second decisions in the operating room. Holding people's lives in my hands while attending surgeons watched and judged. I specialized in cardiothoracic surgery during my final years, drawn to the heart and lungs, the most demanding and technically difficult field in surgery. 2 years of fellowship after that at Massachusetts General, becoming an expert, learning advanced techniques that most surgeons never master, publishing research on minimally invasive cardiac procedures, building a reputation among the small community of cardiothoracic surgeons in the Northeast. At 33, I became an attending surgeon. At 35, the hospital appointed me chief of surgery, the youngest in the institution's 120-year history. I oversaw 40 surgeons and 200 support staff. My department's annual budget was $80 million. My father knew none of this. He knew I'd moved away, that I was doing something in Boston. My mother mentioned occasionally that I was still in medicine somehow, but she was vague about details because I'd asked her to be. My father never pressed for specifics. I assumed he didn't care enough to ask. Then his heart stopped working properly. Massive myocardial infarction on a Tuesday morning. His second wife called an ambulance. They brought him to University Hospital because it was the closest major cardiac center. I didn't know he was there until I reviewed the surgical schedule Wednesday morning and saw his name. David Morrison, age 67. Acute coronary syndrome requiring urgent coronary artery bypass grafting. High-risk patient due to age and extent of blockage. Consulting surgeon requested chief of surgery review. My father needed open heart surgery at my hospital, in my department. I sat in my office for 10 minutes staring at his chart. I could assign the case to another surgeon and never see him. That would be easier. But I was chief of surgery. Complex, high-risk cases required my consultation. It was my job. I put on my white coat and walked to the cardiac intensive care unit. My father was awake, propped up on pillows, an oxygen cannula in his nose. His second wife sat beside the bed. He looked older than I remembered, grayer, thinner, fragile in a way I never associated with him. I knocked on the doorframe. "Mr. Morrison? I'm Dr. Morrison, Chief of Surgery. I'm here to consult on your case." His wife looked up first, confused. "Morrison? Are you related?" My father turned his head, looked at me. His eyes widened. "Anna? Hello, Dad. You're a doctor?" "I'm the Chief of Surgery. I oversee all surgical departments in this hospital." His wife stood up. "You're David's daughter? He said you lived in Boston, but he didn't mention. We haven't spoken much in the past 12 years. I pulled up a chair and opened his chart on my tablet. "Let's discuss your medical situation. You've had a severe heart attack. 3 of your coronary arteries are significantly blocked. You need coronary artery bypass grafting, CABG surgery. We'll take vessels from your leg and use them to bypass the blockages." "Is it dangerous?" His voice was weak. "All surgery carries risk. In your case, the risk of not operating is higher than the risk of the procedure. Without surgery, you'll likely have another heart attack within weeks, fatal this time." "Will you do the surgery?" "Dr. Kumar will be your primary surgeon. He's an excellent cardiothoracic surgeon, one of the best in the country. I'll be supervising and available during the procedure." "You're really a doctor." He said it like he was still processing. "Chief of Surgery. I've held this position for 2 years." His wife looked between us. "David, you never said your daughter was a surgeon." "I didn't know." I stood up. "Someone from Dr. Kumar's team will be by this afternoon to explain the procedure in detail. Surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Do you have any questions?" "How did this happen?" "Medical school, surgery, Chief of Surgery. You're 35 years old." 35 and 3 months. I graduated medical school at 26, finished residency at 31, fellowship at 33. I've published 23 papers and received grants totaling $2.3 million for cardiac surgery research. My father stared at me. "I thought you dropped out." "You hoped I'd drop out. It would have proven you right." I checked my watch. "I have a meeting. Dr. Kumar will take excellent care of you." I left before he could say anything else. The surgery the next morning took 4 hours. I watched from the observation gallery. Dr. Kumar's hands were steady, his technique flawless. My father's heart stopped, then started again on bypass. The grafts went in cleanly. The heart resumed beating on its own. Textbook procedure. Recovery was slower. My father was older, his body struggling to heal. I checked on him during rounds because it was my job, not because I wanted to. Professional obligation overruled personal history. On the 3rd day post-op, I found him awake and alert. "Your recovery is progressing normally," I told him, reviewing his vitals. "We'll have you up walking today. Can we talk, not as doctor and patient, as father and daughter?" "We can talk as doctor and patient. That's the relationship we have." "Anna, please. I was wrong. About medical school, about your career. I should have supported you." "You should have, but you didn't. The cleaning rags, that was cruel. I see that now. It was cruel then too. You just didn't care." "I was trying to protect you. Medical school is hard. I didn't want you to fail." "So you made sure I knew you expected me to fail." "That's not protection. That's sabotage." His hands twisted the blanket. "I'm sorry." Sorry doesn't erase 12 years. Sorry doesn't erase standing in front of 30 people while you told them I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor. I was wrong. Being wrong isn't the same as being sorry, and being sorry isn't the same as earning forgiveness. I closed his chart. "Your cardiac function is improving. You'll be discharged in 3 days. Cardiac rehabilitation starts 2 weeks after that. Your cardiologist will monitor you." "Will I see you again? If you have surgical complications requiring readmission to this hospital, yes." I left before he could respond. My mother called that evening. "Anna, I heard about your father's surgery. Thank you for taking care of him." I did my job. Any patient would receive the same care. He told me about the conversation, about the apology. Apologies are easy. Change is hard. He wants to make things right. He's had 12 years to make things right. He never tried. Maybe almost dying changed his perspective. Maybe. But that doesn't obligate me to change mine. My father was discharged 4 days post-op. I saw him once more, providing discharge instructions. He asked if we could have coffee sometime. I said I'd think about it. I didn't mean it. 6 months later, I was invited to present research at the annual conference of cardiothoracic surgeons, 300 physicians. A presentation on innovative bypass techniques. It was being held in Boston. My mother asked if she could attend. I said yes. She asked if my father could come too. I said he could sit in the audience, but we wouldn't sit together. The presentation went well. Questions from colleagues, interest from other hospitals. Afterwards, there was a reception. My father approached with something in his hands, a small wrapped package. "Can I give you something?" A real graduation present, 12 years late. I unwrapped it. Inside was an antique medical journal from 1923, leather-bound. Articles about early cardiac surgery techniques. Beautiful illustrations. It probably cost him several $100s. "I should have given you something like this instead of cleaning supplies. I should have believed in you." Yes, you should have. "Can I be part of your life now? Can we try?" I looked at the journal. Thought about the cleaning rags still in a box in my office. I kept them as motivation, a reminder of what I'd proven wrong. "We can have coffee occasionally. We'll see where it goes from there. But understand something, Dad. I didn't become chief of surgery to prove you wrong. I became chief of surgery because I was good enough. Your opinion of me never mattered to my career. It only mattered to our relationship." I understand. Do you? Because you never asked. In 12 years, you never once called to ask how medical school was going. Never asked about residency. Never asked anything. You decided I'd failed and never checked to see if you were right. I was ashamed. I thought if you had dropped out, asking would hurt you. So you just assumed the worst. Decided I'd failed without evidence. He had no answer for that. The cleaning rags were insulting, I continued. But the real damage was that you wrote me off. Decided my future without asking me about it. That's what I can't forgive easily. How do I fix it? Time. Consistency. Actually being interested in my life. Not just now that you know I succeeded, but genuinely interested. We did have coffee, monthly at first. Then more regularly. He came to my award ceremony when I received the Hospital Excellence in Leadership Award. He asked questions about my research. Started trying to understand the daughter he dismissed. 2 years after his surgery, he visited my office at the hospital and saw the box of cleaning supplies on my shelf. "You kept those." "I kept them to remember. You gave me rags and told me to clean. I run an $80 million surgery department. I clean operating rooms, just not the way you meant." I was a fool. "Yes, but you're trying to be better. That counts for something." It counted for coffee dates. For awkward family dinners where we rebuilt something that looked vaguely like a relationship. For a kind of peace that wasn't forgiveness, but wasn't hatred either. He never met my expectations of a supportive father, but he stopped actively undermining me. For someone who'd started at negative, that was almost progress. The cleaning rags stayed on my shelf, reminders of where I'd come from. Proof that someone else's opinion of your potential means nothing if you refuse to accept their limits. My father gave me rags and said that was my career. I became chief of surgery and said that was his mistake. Both things were true. Only one of us was right.